Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero, where in today's episode we're going to get Season 10 underway, our second in the Premier Division, and we've reached the giddy heights of the media predicting us as 900 to 1 shots for the title. Remember, last year we were 1,000 to 1 shots. We're still predicted to finish rock bottom of the Premier Division table, but we finished 10th last season, nowhere near getting relegated, although it got a little bit hairy for a while there. This season, we're setting our sights even higher. We've got much to bring you up to speed on. We've made changes in our backroom staff. We've had new players coming through. One of them looks like an interesting prospect. So we've got a lot to get through in this episode. Let's start with our staff members. We've refreshed a lot of our coaching staff over the summer. We are now leading the division in most areas of training. The only one where we're not is in fitness training, where we're only third, despite the fact, actually, that our fitness training is actually the element of our training where we've got the highest star ratings in, particularly one guy that we've got, Kevin Nicol, a Scotsman who spent most of his career playing in Norway, who is a 4.5 star rated fitness coach. So we're looking pretty good in those areas. We've made a big call though. I've let the contract expire of our head of youth development, and I've replaced him with a new head of youth. This is Carl Uvrestad, who might look a little bit unremarkable, is actually a slither of a star less in terms of his reputation than the man that he is replacing. However, I decided after the third youth intake from our previous head of youth development, Erling Sivertsen, to make a little bit of a change. They've both got their strengths and their weaknesses. What drove me to replacing Sivertsen was that he kept bringing through players with quite poor personalities, but also the players that he was bringing through that were good and had decent potential had some kind of underlying flaw, which meant it was going to be difficult to turn them into first team players. So we've gone with Uvrestad. I'm hoping that professional personality might play a role in him bringing through players with better personalities himself. There's a couple of key differences between him and Sivertsen as well. Sivertsen favoured a control possession style, whereas Uvrestad is a tiki-taka lover and also goes for an attacking playing mentality rather than a balanced one. I'm hoping maybe that might mean that he brings through some more attacking talent, maybe some players with some flair, with some dribbling, maybe some strikers that we could get into the team. I'm also interested by the fact that he favours a man marking style over a mixed one, so maybe he might bring through some more rugged, tough tackling, close marking defenders. We'll see whether this gamble pays off. You'll also see our head of youth development is now paid £1,500 a week. That's in sharp contrast to old Muggins here, who's only on £850. In fact, I'm paid less than most of our coaching staff. However, you will see that I am up to a Continental C licence now. I've done back, I believe, coaching qualifications, and it has improved my effectiveness on the training field as well as improved my managerial reputation as well. So it means that I'm now not a half bad coach, and I've actually got some training that I can do with some of the players to help out a little bit rather than being a hindrance out there on the training pitch. So that's what's been going on behind the scenes. I think we should show you our new batch of youth players. So our under-19s are already 8 games into their campaign. They start a lot earlier than the first team. They are doing okay. 3 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats. Although you'll see the teams at the top of the table are setting a pace that our boys can't quite live with. If we show you some of the players that we've taken on from the last youth intake, remember, there was worse than this that we've let go. You might see why I decided to give the old head of youth development his marching orders and take a punt elsewhere. We had another Eritrean through. This is Hani Kidani, low determination, stamina of 4, strength of 2. We've taken him on to bolster the numbers, but you'll see he is never going to make it. We had other players that came through that again had slightly suspect personalities. This guy is temperamental. His attributes are a little bit more rounded, although the strength of 4 is pretty difficult. Some of those mentals are pretty tough to improve, but at least he was a little bit better. We took on other players like Thomas Mittens. Low self-belief. It's very difficult to mentor that kind of personality out of him, and he doesn't have the greatest attributes, but he was just another body for our under-19 squad, so we took him on. We had a goalkeeper come through who didn't have the best personality, mercenary, but the last 3 goalkeepers we'd had through all had unambitious as their personality, so this was actually a rare gift. But again, you'll see some of his attributes, such as his one-on-ones, his passing, his balance, his first touch, his distribution when it comes to throwing and kicking, means that he is going to struggle to ever be anything more than a backup goalie. Speaking of backups, we had the Brackley brothers that came through. Storm Brackley, fairly ambitious, although, look, so many poor attributes in his game. I think he's going to be leaving us at the end of his contract already. His brother Jonas, a little bit better in terms of his attributes. Balanced personality, not great. Plenty of work for him to do if he's ever to go on to be, well, even a squad player. But I know from experience now, when you come through with that balanced personality, making progress is going to be pretty tricky. The player that came through that the coaches and the head of the youth development rated the highest was Håkan Skogdahl, whose attributes are pretty good, but this is what I mean about a balanced personality. Look at all these training arrows going in the wrong direction already. I mean, on the face of it, there's the semblance of a decent striker here. He's certainly quick, he can dribble, long shots are there, technique is there, a little bit of flair. Could he play out there on the wing? Crossing of 7, maybe, but he's not making any progress. In fact, he's regressing. We're already getting him mentored, but very difficult to see how we're going to develop these players when they don't train well. The 2 players who perhaps have got the best chance of making it in the first team, well, the first would be Christian Berntsson. Good personality, driven, physically looking pretty good. Granted, there are gaps all through his mentals, and technically, well, he's pretty limited, but in terms of being a midfielder, passing and tackling are both there. First touch and technique are not a million miles away. Certainly, some of these mentals are a little bit low, but there's potential there. Maybe, if he trains spectacularly, he could be a first-team player of the future. One player I think could be a first-team player this season, although he's another example of where our head of youth development has brought through a player and left me to do a lot of the hard work, is Anders Heidecker. Good attributes for Anders. Came through with total attributes for about 320. Fairly loyal, is a personality that doesn't tell you too much about his professionalism. Maybe it's not the worst because he started to train okay already, although a lot of the training bumps that he's getting might be because I've already been giving him exposure to the first team during pre-season. He came through as a centre-back who was 5'10" tall. I'm okay with a 15-year-old 5'10" centre-back if I can be assured that they're going to grow 3 inches or they're going to be pretty quick. I don't know whether he's going to grow 3 inches, and he doesn't look very quick. So I've already made the decision that this guy might be a decent player to sit in front of a back 4 and win the ball back with his teamwork, his work rate, his great tackling, his marking, his positioning. All round, he looks like he could develop into a bit of a good un here, but the head of youth has left me to do lots of the work in his development. I'm changing his position, which takes away some of the potential that he has. I'm left trying to mentor him to make sure he has a more professional personality. Again, justifying, I think, why I made the change of head of youth development. But you let me know down in the comments whether you think I might have made a little bit of an error. But Anders Heidecker, I think, could well be a player that gets some first team game for us this season. Speaking of the first team, there's plenty of youngsters from the last couple of youth intakes there that maybe we should check in on. So for this opening game of the new campaign, our entire starting 11 plus all of our substitutes are going to be players we've developed ourselves from our own youth intakes. In fact, we've now only got 2 players left from when we started the game. Trygve Kristoffersen, who, like our other player Henrik Usala Hansen, are frequently injured now. And to be honest, Usala Hansen is the club captain, but he's mainly just here as a mentor for the youngsters these days. Big news, we've got 2 players that we've re-signed on loan for this season. We've brought back Dusan Ibsen. It's a risk. If he'd been at Vålerenga, he might have got game time for them this season, and that would have been another little cash payment for us. But I decided actually having him on our books and available to use this season was probably the better option. You'll see, as a loan signing, he doesn't train anywhere near as hard as he did when he was actually playing for us. We've also brought back Mats Neser. I'm thinking he's not going to make it at Rosenborg. Maybe we're just waiting for him to be released by them, and we might try and re-sign him. If he was playing for Rosenborg again, I think we get an extra couple of 100,000 in his transfer fee, but I don't see him breaking into their squad. But he could be a useful player for us this season. We've got lots of youngsters who've come through in the last couple of youth intakes we should probably update you on. Bjorn again Pedersen. He's going to continue to be our first choice goalkeeper. He has been since he was 15 years old. He's not developed as well as I was hoping given his personality. He's still got plenty of potential. And goalkeepers do seem to make their development a little bit later. Hoping this could be a big season for him. A player who I'm already thinking is not actually going to cut the mustard, even though he is our best choice at left back, is gorgeous Georges Luel Ago. Physically, I don't think he's going to make it as a fullback. Certainly technically, he's got lots of gaps in his game as a fullback. Maybe as a left-sided centre-half, he might be used to us as a squad player. But long-term, I don't think he's going to make it as our left-back. Over on the right side, though, maybe Oscar Berg might. He has got pretty good all-round attributes for a fullback going forward. His crossing, passing, technique are all better. Teamwork and work rate are pretty good. Physically, he's that little bit quicker, and he's only had 1 season at the club. I think more first team football could improve him a little bit more this season. Another player who I think is going to be a first teamer for us for the next few years if we hold on to him. Trond Agner Bratton now got 3 under-21 caps and he's only 18 years old. Physically, he's looking pretty good. I'd like him to get a little bit quicker, but he's 6'4" with a good jumping reach. The mentals, bar the aggression, are all pretty good. And in terms of his defensive technical ability, we'd like to improve that heading, maybe the marking as well. But otherwise, he does not look too bad. We're going to start with Heidecker today. I'm eager to see whether giving him exposure to first team football might just mean that he really accelerates his development. Alongside Dusan Ibsen today, we're going to try and play Paul Runningen. Another example of a player that came through in the last youth intake that was fundamentally flawed. I'm going to try and play him a little bit more this season to see if we can improve some of those flawed areas. This is a guy that's either going to be a midfielder, a winger or a striker, but I don't think he really has the attributes to play any of those roles as a striker. The dribbling and the finishing don't think are quite going to be good enough, and he's not that quick either. That kind of means he's not going to make a great winger, especially with the crossing of 7. That leaves him to be a central midfielder, and the fact that he tries killer balls means that with passing of 12 and vision of 11, he might be useful to us. But in that midfield, natural fitness of 3, teamwork of 8, work rate of 7, I don't know whether he is going to be the player that we need in the centre of the park. Going forward, we've got 3 familiar names. Gerser's going to start on the bench today. Schönessen's been the man during pre-season that we've been playing out there on the right. Incredibly quick, great flair. End product, not brilliant. But at this level, I'm hoping that pace might help him be a weapon for us. Hartvigsson is worth £1 million now, is not training great. We'd certainly like to see a little bit more from him. He's our vice-captain. He's going to be over on the left for us today, and the man up top is Hugo Emper. His development has never been spectacular, but he rarely has a bad week in training. It's kind of like slow and steady progress with Tiny Emper. He's had a good pre-season. 6'7" means he's going to be an aerial weapon. He's getting stronger. That jumping reach is pretty good. Heading is fabulous. As a target man, you'd like him to be maybe a little bit more aggressive. Otherwise, I think he's the kind of player who may not ever have the greatest of attributes, but might always be a player that gets pretty good ratings because of the physical prowess that he possesses. Today, we are going to be taking on Stabæk in our opening game of the season. They're a team we had some success against last season. After that, we're going to be playing one of the big boys. That's going to be tough, but we don't seem to have the terribly tough run of games all grouped together that we had during the last campaign. So that might help us in our efforts to try and be a little bit more consistent in our form. Today, we'd love to get off to a positive start. It's an away game. I'd like to think we can get 3 points. Let's get out there and see how we do. So we are underway as the away team. We're in all red this afternoon. Important we get off to a good start, I think, to try set the standard for us having a good campaign. I would like to try and better last season's 10th place finish if we can. In order to try and do that, I have made tactical adjustments for this season. Last campaign, we started the season off with a 4-5-1 formation. I'm going for a 4-3-3 this season. We've still got the 4-4-2 in the locker when we're playing teams who I expect us to be able to beat. Maybe home games against teams that are below us in the table. But we were pretty open last season. Defensively, we were one of the worst teams in the division. As little Hugo sends a header over the bar. So I'm hoping that the addition of a player playing in front of that back four might just allow us to be a little bit more solid and maybe allow some more of our attacking players like Runnigan and Doosan Dibson to do a little bit more damage going forward. We've made a reasonable start to this game by the looks of it. We've had 5 shots, I think, 1 on target, and we've got a corner now. Doosan Dibson's got the ball. Although we're going backwards here, I think that's going to be offside, and it is. Although you can see, little Hardecker is capable of sending a ball through from deep there, isn't he? I think Hartfixen, I was going to say, was well offside. It was actually a little bit more marginal than I first thought. And you'll see that him over on the left wing, drifting in, can be dangerous. However, we are not winning, and we're halfway through the first half. So I think we will demand a little bit more. It's not worked spectacularly well with the old body language, but we seem to be dominating this game and not able to create any real decent chances. Stabæk have not offered anything yet. Looks like we've done all the running, but you'll know yourselves from your own games. When you're on top and you don't score, you often get punished. Hartfixen, that's another tame little effort. Seems to be the kind of chances we've been having, not really testing their goalkeeper. 9 shots, 10 shots, 4 on target. But we get to half time with an XG below 0.5. I think it's time that we told the players we expect a little bit more of a clinical edge in that second period. Maybe we'll have a look at the tactic during the half-time break as well. And we'll see you for the second half. Okay, we are back underway. A few players not having the best game they've ever had, including Schöneson. Runnigan not having a great game in midfield. And Hartfixen over on the left. Well, maybe that's because he's been the man that our chances have fallen to, and he's not put any away. Hopefully, in the second period, maybe we can take one of those chances. Although, getting towards the hour mark, it doesn't look like we're making a breakthrough, does it? And now, they're coming forward with their first chance of the game, it would seem. It looks like they're on the edge of our box, and this is exactly what I prophesied. You don't take any of your chances, and then the opposition come in and make you pay. We are going to berate them, I think. See if we can try and spur them into some kind of action. And just like last season, it's set pieces that are our downfall. An indirect free kick allows them to waltz into the box, and that was a particularly poor bit of defensive play by Oscar Berg. And now we're scrambling around on the opening day of the season trying to get something from this game. Approaching the hour mark, I think it's time for a couple of new players out there on the pitch. Okay, 2 substitutions made. Gersa has come on for Hartvigsson. We've switched Schörnerson over to the left. And we've also made a change in midfield. We've brought Herum on in place for Runnigan. But nothing's happening, so I'm actually going to increase our mentality to attacking. Can we throw out another shout? I'm going to fire them up and see whether that helps. Maybe a little bit. Now we've got a free kick of our own. Doosan Ibsen slings it in. And we've won ourselves a penalty. Little Hugo's going to be on it. They either go in or they go wide in my experience from Hugo. Let's see what he's got on this occasion. He's tucked one away. Okay, we're going to go down from attacking to positive. To see whether we can carry on being the team that is doing the pressing without being too gung-ho on attack. Look at that, 16 shots now, 5 on target. And we've got a highlight. Let's see how this one goes. We can always go more attacking for the final 10 if we need to. Although it doesn't look like we are going to be the team that has the highlight. They've gone long. They've gone over the top. Our goal is in no man's land. And that was a little bit of a mix-up, wasn't it? That is just a basic long ball over the top. Who is to blame for this one? We're going to pause it and find out. It's a nothing ball. It's just a hopeful ball down into the channel. It's Edoy Hansen. He's not quick enough. Pedersen is there in absolute no man's land. We're back up to attacking. We've got to do it all again. We're going to see whether we can throw out another shout. I think we'll try encourage, see how that does. Okay, it's worked on the body language. 2 shots they've had. They've both gone in. We've had 16 and all we've got to show for it is a penalty. And we're going into the last few minutes. And it's not going well for us, is it? We are now going to make another little change. Heidecker has not played well. That experiment has not happened. We're going to bring little Chrissy Nuts on up front to play with Hugo. We're going to ask him to be pressing forward. We're going to keep Hugo on the attack function. We're also going to throw our defence, who've already been beaten by 1 ball over the top. We're going to throw them even further up the field. See if we can put Stabæk under some pressure. Maybe Stabæk have strengthened. Maybe they're a good team this season. Or maybe we're not as good as I was hoping we were. And we're going into the final seconds of the game. And this looks like nothing more than a kick-off highlight. And the game is up. And you know what? That is a poor start to the season. 2 shots they've had. They've scored with them both. I think we need to get these boys back on the training pitch. And we need to do some attacking training with them. Because that was a poor effort. And our defensive frailties were in evidence once more. So there you go. We're underway in season 10. We're going to try our darndest to have a good campaign and maybe press towards that top 6. But if today's fixture is anything to go by, we are a long way from branding ourselves Sub-Zero heroes.